Good morning. I'm excited about today's class because, I've been comparing some of the Indian and Hindu deities, and I thought today I would focus on a couple goddesses because we've been focusing on more of the gods. And we're talking about one of my favorite ones today, which is Kali. In fact, I'm wearing Kali. She's my ultimate favorite Hindu deity. She's come around for me a lot. Even in my Reiki session, she had showed up for me at one period. But she is often compared with Athena. And they're both considered the goddesses of war and death, but also wisdom. Saraswati is also considered a goddess of wisdom, but we're going to focus on Kali. So I'm not going to go into all the stories of Kali because if you've been my student for a while, you've heard about Kali a lot. I've shared several stories about how Kali can become enraged. So she's considered a really fierce goddess. In fact, I have this murti of her at home that stands about this tall. And it usually becomes a conversation piece. If someone doesn't know who she is, they're like looking at that like, who is that and why? Because she has all these arms and all these weapons and a necklace of skulls and she's topless, but she has a skirt at the bottom. She's even holding a head and another hand is catching the blood that's dripping from the head. But even though it looks a little scary, it's actually a really cool symbology. Like for instance, when she's holding the head and catching the blood, it's because in that particular story, in the myth, if the blood touched the ground, then a clone of this demonic army that was taking over, they would keep multiplying. And she figured out it was when the blood would drop to the earth. And she was trying to save humanity, and she was trying to help all the gods. The gods had given up and given her all the weapons. And because she was able to figure that out, it stopped the war. Anyway, there's much more to that story, but I want to talk about Athena. So there's a couple stories about Athena that I want to share. Some of you that have already been to Athens, have understood now that Athens is, kind of named after Athena. But there was a point in the myths where there was a king that was ruling Athens, well, what was Athens before it was called Athens. And both Athena and Poseidon wanted to take over. And Poseidon decided, okay, I'm going to impress the king and give the people a gift so that they'll choose me. And so he took his trident and he hit a rock near the Acropolis so that a stream of seawater would flow through the city. The king was impressed. What a great gift. But then Athena comes along and she plants an olive tree. And the king really takes his time to think about it. And he said, I think Athena has actually gifted us more. She's given us wood. She's given us fruit. What was the other thing? Oil. Thank you. Yes, important. And so the king was impressed by that. And he was like, all right, I'm giving you this city. And thus it's named Athens. But I want to tell you another story about Athena. This is about Athena and Arachne. So Athena had heard about this woman, Arachne, who was a weaver. And she was a natural weaver. She had all this natural talent. And they said that it just flowed from her fingertips. And people from all over the land had heard about how great and talented she was, and they would come to watch this art. Well, Athena was also a weaver, and a very good weaver. And Athena got a little jealous because everybody's talking about this other woman who's a weaver. And she decided, I want to find out, is she really that good? And so I think this is where some people decide that some of these stories of the gods and the goddesses were actually extraterrestrial beings that had come to visit the planet because they had these type of superpowers. And one of their superpowers was kind of shape-shifting, right? We learned about that with Eros turning into the beast. So Athena decides she's going to become an old woman. and she disguised herself and went to see Arachne. Well, Arachne wasn't very humble with her art. In fact, she was quite boastful. And when Athena went to see her work, disguised as the old woman, she got pretty pissed. And, well, first of all, she got pissed that everybody thought that this was a gift from the gods and the goddesses when it wasn't. And then she got, jealous. So she became enraged, right? So both of these goddesses are fierce feminine energy. And when they get angry, right, the goddesses of war, they can kill. You don't want to be on their bad side. But Arachne, she had an ego, big ego. And when she became so enraged, she turned back into Athena. And when she turned into Athena, all the people there were like, bowing in reverence to her, like, oh my God, Athena's here. The only person that didn't show reverence was Arachne. Because Arachne was standing up to her. Well, that made Athena even more mad. And they decided there needed to be a weaving contest. Who was the best? And so they both started to design their own tapestry. Everyone's looking on. And of course, Athena is doing this tapestry with grass and things from the sky and all of these beautiful materials, right? Because she has the ability to do so. And it turns into this gorgeous tapestry depicting the gods and the goddesses at their best. All the ones from Mount Olympus. And so she's quite proud of her work. And Arachne's working and 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 doesn't make one single mistake. It was perfect. It was perfect in its design and craftsmanship. However, it depicted the gods and goddesses from Mount Olympus at their worst. Like when they're enraged and killing, right? And so when they were comparing the tapestries, and Athena sees she has not even made one mistake, she gets really mad and turns her into the first spider. Thus, Arachne, the name of spiders. I always say I'm arachnophobic. I don't like spiders. So think about this. Arachne became the first spider. What do spiders do? They weave the webs. And the webs are gorgeous, artistic, beautiful designs, right? And even if they're torn down, the spider will just come and redo it again. So Arachne is said to be responsible for continuing this art, even today, through the gift of spiders. So we're going to be doing some of these poses that represent some of the things in the story today. With some of these poses I wanted to do, I thought we could do a portion of a moon salutation, and then we'll add in a few other things in the mix. All right? So let's go ahead and begin sitting upright today. If you want one of the bolsters to sit on to do a little pranayama, please do that to build the hips up, which gives it more availability to us to sit with the natural pelvis, helping to extend the spine, and a platform for the hips. Let your hands rest down to your lap. Let your shoulders relax down and away from your ears, and close the eyes. So we know that all of us can become temperamental. None of us are immune to that. But we also realize with time and experience and maturity, we can grow beyond that and be able to temper ourselves. And yoga and meditation is a great way to calm the nervous system, to slow down a racing mind and heart, and to help us to regain our composure. So take some deep breaths. as you open up the channel of the breath, notice on the in-breath how the crown of the head and the spine naturally kind of springs upward. And as you exhale, notice that slight descent down and the grounding sensation in the lower body. So inhale up the spine to the crown of the head and beyond. And exhale down through the tailbone, into the sits bones, into the earth below. And just follow this line up and down as you breathe. One thing I failed to mention in the story of Athena is that the olive branch has been considered a symbol of peace since that time, since the city was peacefully handed over to Athena. Take a few more breaths. Notice what you've gained already just through sitting and breathing in a conscious way. So try to move in a conscious way so that you're honoring your body and any limitations as we explore these poses. And gently crack the eyelids open. And once you do so, we'll go ahead and come away from our seat, and we're going to get up to stand right away. So if you wanted to have blocks, you could, of course, set them on either side of the feet. We will be doing Skandasana eventually. We will be doing a pyramid pose, if that gives you any idea of whether or not you need them. So look down at your feet and line them up and spread the toes. See if you can see the mat in between each one. And then draw the hands to Anjali Mudra, prayer position at your heart, and lift through the top of the sternum. Keep the chin parallel to the earth, gaze forward with the eyes, setting it on one place. And then on your inhale, sweep the arms up overhead, lace the fingers together, and then reach the wrists, the palms, the fingers upward. Notice when you're really reaching the arms up, how you feel that engagement in those transverse abdominis muscles. You may even feel some of your back muscles waking up since it's still early in the day. On your exhale, we're going to curve to the right. And as you curve to the right, again, ground through the feet. Maybe swing the left hip out. Dependent upon how it affects your breath. And then affirming here as you hold strength and courage, fill up my body cells. And on your next inhale, let's go ahead and rise up. We're not going to the other side yet. We're actually going to step to the left, so you'll be facing that direction towards the curtains. And you're going to take what we call Kali Goddess pose. So this is our Kali position where the feet are turned out, the knees are bent, and sometimes it's called a horse squat with Americans. But I like to take it back to its original name, Kali Goddess. So bring the fingers together today. Create your moonbeam hands. The moon often represents the feminine, and we're talking about some feminine deities today. On your next out breath, you're going to bring the fingertips down to the ground. Again, check in to see if you need blocks or not. And you're just going to hold this position, getting your trunk parallel to the earth. Sending the tailbone back and taking the crown of the head forward. And setting your eyes your drishti at one place. Take one more deep breath. And then when you're ready, inhale, come up to Kali Goddess. And then slowly straighten your legs and bring the sacred geometric shape above the head, the triangle. Index fingers and thumbs join. And as you exhale, come back to Kali Goddess, except contract your biceps and bring them down towards your ribs. Good, inhale, straighten the legs. Bring the hands back up overhead, creating that triangle above. And then exhale, coming back down. Good, do one more. Inhaling up. Exhaling down. Good, now stay in that squat and take a side bend where your left elbow is resting on your left thigh and right arm is reaching overhead. Good, inhale, bring yourself through center. Exhale, take it to the other side. Good, this time, inhale, bring the arms out shoulder height. Turn your feet to be more parallel as you straighten your legs. Good, from here, you're gonna rotate the right foot 90 degrees. Lengthen out through the right side body, keeping the right leg straight, and exhale, take your triangle pose. Trikonasana. Create that moonbeam hand to represent the feminine. The fingers are spread open, it's the sunbeam hand. The moon salutation, even though we're not doing the original sequence, I'm adapting it for today, was created by women at Kripalu in upstate New York back in the 80s. Good, on your next exhalation, I want you to look down towards your right foot, bring the left arm down, softly bend the right knee, and you're gonna turn that left foot in, ground the back heel, and then you're gonna roll the left thigh and hip forward. Again, this is where you may need blocks. The right hip is gonna tuck in. So we're trying to square the hips and the sacrum a little bit. Lengthen out through the spine. And you can always prop your hands on your shin. And this is a form of pyramid or intense side stretch pose. Breathe. On your next inhale, lift the head up, lunge the right knee, and wiggle the left toes back, coming into a lunge. And then when you come into a lunge, we're actually going to turn towards Dandasana. So the hands are going to walk to the inside of the right foot as the right foot swivels to face the corner of the mat. The left foot plants down, and you're lunging that right knee. Now walk the hands over towards the left side. The left toes are turned towards the corner of the mat, and you're taking a side lunge here. There's other ways to do this pose, other types of expression. So if you want to explore your options, feel free. Walk it again over to the right, taking your time. I'm keeping it more gentle this morning since it's so early and the muscles aren't as warmed up. And again, you can use blocks under your hands to walk from side to side, taking it back to the left. Good, when you're ready, walk your hands back towards the center, rotate your feet so they're facing the windows, and then gently lower. Don't feel like your hands have to touch the floor. In fact, your hands can come to your hips. But notice if all your weight is in the heels of the feet. If so, kind of tip your weight forward. Send the buttocks up and the head down. Prasarita Padottanasana. Forward folds can be very calming for the nervous system. So if you have bouts of intense anger, practice more forward folds.
can be very beneficial. This brings some refreshment to the mind. It can help to reboot the mind, bringing more blood flow this direction, bringing more energy this direction, stimulating the pineal and the pituitary glands. Soften the face. Let it replenish the face and the sensory organs. Feel the stretch in the hamstrings, the lengthening in the low back. Now I want you to take your time, since we've been inverted for a while. Walk your hands out in front of you, stacking to the fingertips, lengthening out through the vertebrae, hands to the hips. When you're ready, ground those feet and slowly start to come up. Good. When you start to come up, your left foot is going to rotate towards the back of the mat. Your arms are going to lift up. We're taking triangle pose, so you're lengthening over the left leg. And then windmill the arms down, left hand to the leg, right arm skyward. Plant the feet, lift through the knees. Stack over the left leg, roll open through the belly and chest. Glue the fingers together on the top hand. And then firm here as you hold. Energy and joy flow down to me. Think about how Poseidon allowed a river to flow from the Acropolis through the city. Now turn your head down towards your left foot. We're going to lunge that knee a little bit. Now if your blocks are to the side, of course you can bring them with you to the back of the mat, because we're going to offset the right foot, turning the toes in more at an angle, grounding the back heel, and then rotating through the hips and the pelvis. So you have external rotation with your left thigh, internal rotation with your right thigh, and you're lengthening out through the vertebrae. Most importantly, breathe. We hold the asanas, but we try not to hold the breath. Look at the breath as being your fuel. Keep you energized, to keep the life force flowing. If you lowered your head, lift it up. Bring a bend to that front knee and slide or wiggle the right toes back into a lunge. Good. From here, we're going to walk our hands back to the inside of the left foot, turning towards the windows again. Left foot turns to the corner of the mat. And that's important for the side lunge. Now let's do some little pulses. Maybe inhale, lift the hips, and then exhale, come back down into the lunge. Just little pulses back and forth. All right, walk your hands over towards the right, and then pulse the hips up and down. Good, walk it over to the left. Little pulses up and down. Something we call spanda in yoga. Bring it back to the right. That's it. To the left. And to the right. All right, we're going to slowly turn the feet to face the front again. Frame the front foot with the hands. When you're ready, step the back foot forward and lower down. So again, this isn't the original moon salutation. I'm adapting it so we don't have to do the yoga mat mandala spinning all the way around. Let your head go. And usually there's not an uttanasana in the mix. I'm adding this in. Let the shoulders just spill off the back. Breathe down into the belly. Breathe down into your feet. On your next in-breath, sweep the arms to your sides and up. Lace the hands above. Roll the wrist up. Pausing here for a moment. Lining the arms up close to the ears if that's possible, but I also understand you may have the arm slightly forward. And gently curve to the left. Creating Chandrasana, the crescent moon shape. Inhale, come back to the top. As you exhale, you're going to step to the right, so you'll be facing the opposite side. You're coming back into Kali Goddess. I'm going to turn this way. So when you're coming into Kali Goddess, we're going to bring the fingertips down. We're going to elevate the heels. If that's too much, you can keep them down. Now notice if you're white knuckling your hands. Just light, gentle weight in the fingertips. Put the weight rather in the balls of the feet. We're strengthening the legs. All right, exhale, spill the heels back down to the ground and bring yourself up to Kali Goddess. Moonbeam hands. Good, now bring your hands to prayer position at your heart. Inhale, open the arms to Kali Goddess. Exhale, hands to heart. You do not have to do a back bend here. Inhale, arms open. Exhale, prayer position. One more. Inhale, open. Exhale, prayer position. You're going to hinge halfway down and you're going to spin your arms and yourself. So the right arm crosses behind your back. The left hand takes a hold of the right knee and you're gazing back behind you. Inhale, release the arms. Spin all the way around to the other side. Left arm behind the back. Right hand taking a hold of the left knee. All right, we're going to bring the fingertips down again. You're going to elevate your heels, but this time you're going to cross the hands so the fingertips face each other and you're in spider pose. This is going to represent Arachne. Like the Kali Goddess pose today is representing Athena. Ooh, I'm quivering. This is early to be doing this. Okay, drop the heels down. Release the hands apart. Separate your heels so the feet are more parallel. And just go ahead and fold into Prasarita Padottanasana. Give the quads and the hips a momentary break. Move into the back of the legs. Slow, deep, rhythmic movement or breath. Feel free to even incorporate the Ujjayi breath, allowing it to sound like a whisper. It can be as calming as the ocean. Good, now walk your hands forward. Lift the head up, even out that blood flow a minute so you don't get dizzy or lightheaded. And your hands can also come to the hips. Push down through the soles of the feet and then slowly start to lift up. Good, when you're here, rotate the left foot towards the top of the mat. Lengthen the arms out. Cross over that leg. Bring it down, triangle. Good, when you're coming into Trikonasana, maybe find the perfect place for the head and the neck. Sometimes it's nice to just keep it neutral and just look in the same direction. Sometimes it's nice to look down for some grounding. And sometimes it's nice to actually gaze up to see where we're sending the energy towards the pinnacle of the pose. Good, on your next out breath, you're gonna slightly lunge that front knee. You're gonna bring the hands down. You're gonna offset the right foot. Check in to see if you need those blocks. Try to square the hips as best as possible. And on the exhale, see if you can drape down. And if your body's not ready for that, don't push it. Honor it. Respect it. There's nothing to prove, right? So we're trying to drop the ego. So we're not being like Arachne. Be humble. Humility is a virtue. All right, inhale, slowly lift the head up. Lunge that knee, wiggle the right toes back. And then once you do that, I want you to solidify your right hand and take the left arm skyward. My habit is to create that sunbeam hand. If you're doing that, create the moonbeam hand above. Exhale, bring the left hand down. You're gonna spin back towards that side wall, Skandasana. If you wanna change it up, you can try bringing your hands to prayer position at your heart. And then as you lift up and cross over to the right, you can even separate your arms nice and wide. You can bring the hands to pass through Anjali Mudra, and you can just glide and surf from side to side. You might actually enjoy that expression. You may enjoy just keeping the hands to the ground and doing something similar to what we did before. Yogi's choice. Good, bring the hands down wherever you are. Walk the hands to center. Turn the feet to be parallel and bow. Oh my goodness, it's so funny how some things trigger songs in your mind. So I'm thinking a song that I haven't even thought about in years. You got to cool it now. Who was that anyway? It was R&B, wasn't it? It doesn't matter. Inhale, walk the hands forward. Lift up to the head and the heart. Turn your heels in, toes out. Kali Goddess. Or in this case, Athena. Bring the fingertips down. Go back into that squat. Elevate the heels. Cross the hands, Arachne. The spider, the master weaver. All right, when you're ready, ground the heels, separate your hands, turn your heels back behind your toes so the feet are parallel. Hands come back to the waist and slowly come to stand. All right, now you're turning that right foot. When you're turning the right foot, lift the arms up shoulder height, lengthen out over that side, come back to triangle, moonbeam hand. If you want to create another expression, feel free. And then gaze down towards the right foot, lunge that knee, bring the hands down, offset that back foot, ground it down. Straighten out and be humble. There's an expression, I believe from the biblical text, those who are exalted may be humbled. And those who are humbled may be exalted. And you can see how in Athena's enraged state, she was not happy with Arachne's boastfulness. And it was time to humble her. All right, inhale, slowly lift up. Bend that knee, wiggle the back toes back. Ground the left hand and sweep the right arm out and up towards the heavens above, moonbeam hand. Take your time through all these transitions. Good. Exhale, bring that right hand down. You're going to turn towards Skandasana again. And then if you want to do that same expression, hands to prayer, sweeping the arms, coming through center, and doing the same off to the left. You can glide back and forth. You can go back into the spanda. You can keep the hands to the floor and just hold it for a long period if you prefer. Good. Bring your hands down. Turn your feet to be parallel. Fold over again. A lot of forward folds in the mix today, again, for the purpose that I mentioned, to calm the mind, to calm the nervous system. Use a calming breath as well. And then walk the hands out, lift halfway up. Bring your hands to your hips, and then slowly come to stand. When you come to stand, we're going to turn that left foot back towards the front. We're going to step it up, and we're going to fold into self. Uttanasana. Maybe explore a longer out breath. On your next inhale, root down through the legs and feet. Sweep the arms to your sides and up. Lace the hands above. Pump the fist or the palm skyward. Drawing up through the navel, up through the heart. Exhale, purr to the left. Creating that Chandrasana crescent moon shape, affirming strength and courage. Fill up my body cells. Inhale, climb up. Exhale to the other. So there's usually 4 crescent moons in the mix of a moon sal to create the fullness of the moon. Inhale up to the top, and exhale, let the arms drape down. A moon sal is supposed to be cooler than a sun sal, and I'm dripping up here. All right, we're going to do tree, since the olive tree was a gift to the city of Athens. Let's bend the right knee. Let's open up from the hip. Now, the most gentle way is just keep the foot to the floor. This is tree pose. You may want to bring it to the calf. You may want your hand to assist to bring it to the inner thigh, but you're pressing the two together. And then, of course, if you want to create branches, any formation is fine. And then relax the arms. Settle the foot down. And let's create Vrikshasana now to the opposite side. Tadasana form on the right. Bend the left knee, open the hip. You may need this morning. Balance can be thrown off for different reasons, and this can be of service. Otherwise, foot to the calf or the inner thigh. Press the two together. Keep lifting out of the hips, and maybe create some branches. Remembering the olive branch is a symbol for peace. Bring your peace sign in. softly release the arms, as well as the foot. All right, we're gonna bring it on down. So actually walk back on your mat. And then once you do that, separate your feet. Bend the knees, your heels might lift, and that's all right. But we're coming down towards Malasana. And so this pose is usually in the mix of the moon salutation. So close your eyes for a moment and just visualize yourself going through that earlier flow. If this becomes too much for the knees, please sit down and walk your feet forward, and you can do squat this way, no problem. And salutations to the moon and to the awakening light within, and to the dawning of a higher state of consciousness in all beings. All right, we're gonna bring the hands in front of us, those still in squat, and just take your time coming to a tabletop position. And those of you that were already sitting, just transition to this position here. And so stay in this position and look out with your eyes, or sit back on your heels or a block if you want to sit more in Vajrasana. I'm going to show you what we're going to do next. And before I do that, I want to tell you a little story where both of these goddesses were born out of a forehead. And I'll tell you that little story before we go into this, because I failed to mention that at the beginning. So when that demonic king was trying to take over the land, and this is going back to the Indian myth, Durga was with the gods and fighting. And Durga became so enraged that they were losing the battle that Kali was birthed from her brow. And then all the gods decided to give Kali these weapons, and she just took over and fixed it. She resolved it. Now Zeus, we already talked about, he had a lot of infidelity. He was a player. And two different stories. One story was that he just got a headache, and Athena was birthed from his brow, fully grown, fully armed. Another story says he ate his pregnant wife. And from doing so, Athena was birthed from his brow, fully armed as a warrior. Either way, we're going towards the brow, is my point. So what we're gonna work on is being on the shins and the tops of the feet, and the hands are actually gonna be placed alongside the knees or in front of the knees. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring the forehead down to the floor like this, and you can watch me for just a moment. As we inhale, we're rolling to the top of the head, Sasangasana here. And as we exhale, we're rolling back like child, but keeping the hands as is. So we're just rolling on the in-breath to the top of the head, creating a little cat stretch back. Pull that belly in, engage your core. And really, if you're using your hands and your shins, there's barely any weight on the head. There shouldn't be a lot of weight on the head. It's not like a headstand. So it's just a very light roll. And this also will help to produce some stimulation to the hair follicles, but also at the top of the head, there's a lot of marma points. Marma points are like acupressure points. This pose, Sasangasana, is actually medicinal for headaches, unless it's related to sinuses. All right, gently come down to Child's, and you can do two different versions of Child's. You can stretch the arms out and do the extended form, or you can stay slightly rounded and wrap your arms around you towards the feet.
So remember in the story, Poseidon took his trident to a rock near the Acropolis to create the seawater, the river.
On your next in-breath, if your arms are not outstretched, please do so. Rock up to hands and knees.
All right, we're gonna do thread the needle pose. So if you flip your left hand open and thread it underneath your right arm, drip down towards your left ear. You're slightly rolling towards the left shoulder blade, opening the back door of the heart, stretching out those muscles, using your right hand to assist. Take some deep breaths. I love this pose because it's a beautiful blend of both a twist and an inversion. And I always like to include something like this towards the end of the practice to help to bring the energy towards those higher centers or chakras. Inhale, press through the right hand to come back to table. Flip your right hand open, thread it underneath the left arm, sink down towards the right ear. Thread the needle pose. I also wanted to do this pose because in the story they were weaving tapestries. And they may have just been using their hands. I'm not sure how that works. Good. On your next in-breath, press through the left hand. Gently come back to table. Sink back into child's for a moment. And rest and penetrate the third eye at your brow. So one thing I've noticed, and I'm probably sure you've noticed as well, I noticed it first in Athens, and I even saw it in the village yesterday. And I'm not sure, so you guys can tell me, but have you noticed all the designs of just the single eye? I know in the Egyptians it was the eye of Horus. In yoga we talk about, the mind's eye. Even Jesus talked about, if thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be filled with light. This goes across many, many cultures. I'm not sure why it's showing up so much in Greece, so if you know, tell me later. And when you're ready, inhale it slowly, start to shift out of this pose the best way for your body. And we're going to set up now. And what I'd like you to do is take your blocks on its low height, side by side. And then this little mini bolster, I haven't tried this yet. I've tried it at home, but these are different props, so hopefully this will work. And this bolster's kind of like at an angle facing you. That's it. And you may want, these mats really aren't comfortable. You're gonna bring the blanket for a pillow underneath your head. Your legs are gonna cross over the bolster. And it's time for Shavasana. So the idea here is to bring a little bit of a bend to the knees and to give them some support. But also with that support, it's aiding the low back. As you're settling in, close the eyes. Feel free to use the eye pillow or the washcloth to cover them up. Does anybody want theirs? And I'll bring it to you since it may be in a different position. So what I want you to consider right now is the tapestries that Athena and Arachne created. And instead of looking at the tapestries as being all about the gods and the goddesses of Mount Olympus, I want you to imagine that your story, that yourself is depicted somewhere in the mix. Because every single one of us is a part of this beautiful tapestry called life. And I want you to look at your breath as like a thread that interweaves your mind, your body, and spirit together as one. And beyond that, look at each other as being the threads to weave together all of humanity. When we drop into the state of yoga, different from yoga asanas, the state of yoga is we're in that pure state of mind, in that pure state of our heart, in that pure state of our soul. And when you arrive there, when you experience that, even if it's just a glimpse, even if it's just a moment, you can feel and experience firsthand the state of oneness with all that is. And this is our quest now. All you need to do is to relax and to meditate or bear witness to your breath. Breathing in. I know that I'm breathing in. Breathing out. I know that I'm breathing out. Breathing in, I smile. Breathing out, I smile. Breathing in, I draw in peace. Breathing out, I send out peace. Peace in, peace out. Peace in, peace out. In and out. On your next in-breath, you can stretch the arms overhead. As you exhale, you can cup a hold of your knees. Feel free to remove the eye bag or washcloth from the eyes. Maybe sway gently on your back from side to side. And when you're ready, roll to one. And come up. Feel free to grab that bolster if you want to sit on it. And I know several of you that are here know I used to always in my classes, Om Shanti, with that chant. So please chime in so I'm not alone. Bring your hands to prayer position at your heart. We'll take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, we'll still roll right into the chant. A deep breath in. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. When Shanti is said 3 times, it means may we all be free and at peace from anything out of our control. May we all be free and at peace with anything imposed upon us. And may we all be free and at peace with any internal concern or stress of our own. Om peace, peace, peace. Namaste. Namaste. Thank you. Thanks you guys for showing up this